Welcome back to a Byte in Time, the series of myself going back in time and watching wrestling shows from different eras. I'm currently going through 2002 WB, a portion of the company's history that I haven't really watched a ton of. In the last edition, we took a look at Survivor Series from 2002. If you haven't gone back and watched that video, definitely go back and check that out to hear about another great WB pay-per-view from this era. And in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at the 2002 Armageddon show from the Office Depot Center in Sunrise, Florida. Had an attendance of 9,000, and this is the last show in 2002 from a pay-per-view standpoint from the WWE. Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler are on commentary for Raw, and Michael Cole and Taz are in the booth for SmackDown. We've got a 7-match show to get through here with various different angles and segments kind of put in throughout, but the first match that we're going to get into is a Fatal 4-Way Elimination match. Booker T and Goldust defeat Christian and Chris Jericho, Lance Storm and William Regal, and the Dudley Boys to win the World Tag Team titles in 16 minutes and 44 seconds. There was a trade for the Big Show going to SmackDown for Devon, Ivory, Maven, and Shawn Morley. So all of them went to Raw, and I would say nobody won this trade because Big Show is, he was the world champion over on SmackDown, but wasn't putting in great performances. And then Raw was just kind of getting some undercard talent and the reuniting Devon and Bubba for the Dudley Boys and another tag team in the division. Christian and Chris Jericho, who are the champions, and Booker T and Goldust have been feuding on and off. The Dudleys beat Chris Jericho and Christian for the titles in the edition of Monday Night Raw, but Chief Morley started the match due to it not being a clean finish, so that's why they're here. And finally, Regal and Storm have gone undefeated for like 7 weeks in tag team action at this point, so it can kind of be argued that they also have won a title shot. Ultimately, I ended up giving this 3.25 stars. This started out sort of odd due to the fact that Storm and Regal and the Dudley Boys got eliminated super early and didn't factor into the match much, but after that, Bookdust and Christian and Jericho had a very good 10-minute stretch of tag team wrestling. JR states that a pre-match coin toss determined that Storm and Bubba would start the match. Bubba immediately yells "Die Canadian Scum" and does a corner splash to Storm. It's just all pretty standard stuff early on with all the various teams. About 5 minutes into the match, Bubba and Devon hit a 3D on Christian, but he isn't the legal man, so Storm gives Bubba a leg drop from the top, and Regal is supposed to come in and get an easy pinfall on Bubba. However, they completely fuck this up because either Regal or Bubba shift their weight too much, and Bubba gets out of the pin. Regal then does the spot again after rolling around for a few seconds and eliminates the Dudleys, but JR and King are completely confused. JR says it was just a near fall, and then King just says, "I don't know what's going on," and when it was clearly a 3. So Goldust then immediately hits his signature power slam to eliminate Storm and Regal, and we're down to 2 teams. The first part of this match was sloppy and pretty weird, but it gets much better in the second half. Goldust misses a crossbody and falls to the floor, which looked great. Eventually, Goldust catches Christian in a sidewalk slam and makes the hot tag to Booker T, who the crowd are super hot for. He cleans house with some great offense and really kicks this match into another gear. Lots of great counters here between Jericho and Booker, but Jericho eventually catches him into the walls of Jericho. Goldust makes a save with a bulldog and crotches Christian on the top rope to take him out. Booker does a spin-a-rooney, but that leads to Jericho hitting Booker with the tag team titles behind the ref's back, and follows up with a lionsault for a great near fall. Awesome stuff there, and the crowd thought that it was over. For the finish, Jericho goes for another belt shot, but Booker hits a bookend to finally pin Jericho and win the tag team titles. Jonathan Coachman then interviews the new champions, and Booker T makes sure to let Goldust know that he is no weak link. This is a very good opener here. This still didn't need to be a 4-way, but this ended up with a great feel-good moment and ends up being a fun time, so I did enjoy this from that standpoint. They cut to a video from Heat where Josh Matthews interviews Brock Lesnar to ask if he's going to be in Kurt Angle's corner later tonight. Brock asks who in the hell Josh Matthews is and doesn't answer the question, just says that he is going to make an impact tonight. Second match on the card is a strange one, no doubt. Edge defeats A-Train by DQ in 7 minutes and 11 seconds, and like I said, this push for A-Train came out of nowhere. He really hadn't been on TV for months and had his name changed from Albert to A-Train 2 weeks prior to Armageddon when he beat Rey Mysterio and kayfabe injured him. I give this match 2 stars. With all that being said, this just felt like a random TV match, and they didn't even give a decisive finish. On the SmackDown after the show, they ran this back and Edge beat him in like 5 minutes. And this feud kind of continues after this, so I'm not really sure what the point of this was overall to get these guys on the pay-per-view. Edge was coming into this with a bad knee due to the attack from A-Train before the show, so he was kind of selling that while going after the legs of A-Train. We went into a chinlock spot less than 4 minutes in, and it was hard for me to care about this match really. For the finish, A-Train brings in a steel chair into the ring. He gets it kicked out of his hands, but then hits Edge with a Baldo bomb for the 2 count. Edge then fights back and connects with a spear to A-Train, but he kicks out of that. After that, A-Train then uses the steel steel chair on Edge's knee, and the ref calls for the DQ. Pretty lame finish, but whatever. After the match, Edge nails A-Train with a chair shot to skull that sounded like a gunshot, and hits him about 10 more times before being done and leaving the ring. Post-match, this is probably the best part, but I really don't see the point of why this is on pay-per-view, especially when this feud just continues and they have matches on SmackDown and free TV, so I don't know, it just doesn't really make sense to me. It was fine, but not pay-per-view level. Backstage, Big Show wants to yell at Stephanie McMahon for lifting Lesnar's suspension. Heyman calms him down and says he's going to take care of that and that he has a plan, so I'll explain that a little bit more later on in the show when we get to that match between the two of them. Next match on the show, Chris Benoit defeats Eddie Guerrero in 16 minutes and 46 seconds. The setup for this was pretty basic but solid storytelling. On SmackDown 172, the Guerreros successfully defended their tag team titles against Angle and Benoit in a pretty good match. The following SmackDown, there was a fatal 4-way match to determine the #1 contendership for the WWE Championship. Benoit eliminated Eddie first, so Eddie hit him from behind with the tag team title, and Edge hit a spear to eliminate Benoit, thus setting up this match on pay-per-view. I gave this 4.25 stars, and it was easily the match of the night for me. Early on, this consisted of Eddie working over various body parts of Benoit, with the latter finding ways to get out of the holds. Really great stuff and fun control portions from Eddie. Eddie tosses Benoit to the outside and really does a great looking dive. It looks like it really hurts Eddie's right knee, but he tosses Benoit back inside and continues to work over Benoit's left knee. Benoit finally pops up for the rolling German suplexes and gets all the way to 7 before Eddie reverses into 3 German suplexes of his own and a snap suplex to finish it. Fantastic sequence between the two of them. Closing stretch here, Guerrero locks in a modified lasso from El Paso, but Benoit reaches the ropes and powerbombs Eddie. Benoit goes up to the top for the headbutt and Chavo interrupts him. Benoit fights him off and Eddie and Benoit fight on the top and Eddie goes flying. This is followed up by the headbutt from across the ring. Eddie counters the pin into another lasso from El Paso, but then Benoit counters into a crossface and Eddie ultimately has to tap out. Great stuff at the end here, and they really went out on a high note. Crowd got into the match as it went on, and this turned out to be awesome. Match of the night for me, no doubt. Paul Heyman enters Stephanie McMahon's office to complain about Brock Lesnar's suspension being lifted. Heyman's pleas fall on deaf ears as Stephanie McMahon will allow Brock to be in Kurt Angle's corner. They talk about the integrity of the title. Stephanie saying we'll have to wait and see what Lesnar does tonight. Up next, we had the soap opera portion of the show. There was a long recap of Dawn Marie versus Tori Wilson. Dawn Marie decided to marry Tori's dad, presumably to get to Tori. It turned out she just wanted to sleep with Tori, so she offered to call off the marriage for one night with her. Of course, it was filmed and Dawn is threatening to show the tape tonight because Tori enjoyed it. I'm not sure why Tori would care if the tape was shown. Honestly, Dawn looks way worse in this scenario. They play some of the film and then Al says he can't watch any more of it, thus cementing his legacy as one of the biggest heels in wrestling history, and can't wait to see more of this continue to waste my time every week on SmackDown, and oh boy does it, because it continues even longer than this. Transitioning to the next match, we had Batista with Ric Flair defeating Kane in 6 minutes and 37 seconds. Leading up to this Armageddon event, WWE are beginning to push Batista and are aligning him with Flair. They gave him a non-clean win over Kane and a squash match against Hurricane the past few weeks. I gave this match 1.75 stars. Batista is in insane shape here, like holy shit, dude is built like an absolute Greek god. A lot of punches, clubs, and kicks from Batista here, and Kane hasn't been exactly lighting the world on fire in his last few matches. Crowd were incredibly dead for this and could not have cared less for these two or this feud. This was so weird. Kane counters a Batista bomb and randomly hits Batista with a low blow while the ref is distracted. What the hell? Like, why did he do that? Why is the devil's favorite demon hitting a low blow? That was a bit strange. Ending of the match, Kane hits a chokeslam on Batista, but Flair distracts Kane. Kane then beats up Flair, but that leaves him exposed for Batista to finally connect with an impressive Batista bomb on Kane for the win. That's 2 wins for Batista over Kane. Not really a good match, but this accomplished its goal of getting Batista wins over established guys on pay-per-view and the continued building of him. Then we had a rap segment with John Cena and B Squared. John Cena is developing his character and has formed a tag team with B Squared or B2. This was just another segment to continue getting over the new Cena rap character. There's no reaction to it yet, and they just look like total goofballs, but I mean, that's part of the point. After this, it looks like they go after the tag team title, so we'll see how that goes. Fifth match, we had Victoria defeating Jacqueline and Trish Stratus to retain the Women's World Championship in 4 minutes and 29 seconds. Leading up to this match, Jackie beat the new Women's Champion Victoria in under 3 minutes, legitimately out of nowhere. Trish came into this match with a broken nose from the previous night on a house show, and I gave this match 1.5 stars. These three worked hard, but they had to sprint through everything and nobody sold at all since they didn't even have 5 minutes for this match, not even 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Another issue was that Jackie was clearly inserted into this match as someone to take the pin and have the feud extended without having Victoria or Trish pin one another, which didn't lead to much intrigue. This was just the textbook definition of just doing moves and no story at all. They did some cool stuff overall, but none of it meant much and it didn't have any impact since they just weren't selling. Trish throws Jackie into the corner and hits a running clothesline. While she's pinning her, Victoria hits Trish with the women's title and then pins Jackie to retain it. The finish was flat and they just didn't have any time to do much of anything in this match, and Victoria steals Trish's hat to continue the feud, I assume. Backstage again, Angle keeps trying to convince Lesnar to be in his corner, including promising him retribution and a title shot if Brock joins him, but Lesnar still won't confirm if he will help him or not. In the semi-main event of the evening, we had Kurt Angle defeating the Big Show with Paul Heyman to win the WWE Championship in 12 minutes and 36 seconds. Fallout from Lesnar getting screwed by Heyman. Lesnar is pissed and goes on a rampage. Heyman negotiated a clause for Lesnar to not get a rematch for the WWE title as his last act as Lesnar's agent. Stephanie McMahon has to suspend Brock after he kept attacking Big Show and Heyman. As mentioned previously, there was a fatal four-way to determine who would win the next title shot since Lesnar wouldn't be getting one. Angle won that by pinning Edge in a great match, and I give this match 2.5 stars. Angle even getting a average match out of this Big Show was impressive. Big Show dominated a long portion of this match, as you'd expect, so this was incredibly slow for the first few minutes. Big Show applies a bear hug, but doesn't kill time with it as Angle breaks it quickly by biting Show. He gets a choke on Show by jumping on his back and gets him down to one knee. Angle pulls out a tornado DDT and both guys are down for a while. Good looking missile dropkick gives Kurt 2. The moonsault press only has Angle's feet hit Show in the head and he gets another 2 count. Angle then counters a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker into an impressive Angle slam for another 2 count. Angle gets sent into the ref for a bump and kicks off the final interference stretch here. Heyman slides a chair into the ring and you think it's for Big Show, but hindsight it makes it clear he tossed it more so to Angle. Angle clocks Show with the chair to the skull, but it's only a 2 count, and Show tosses Angle in the ref for another bump. A-Train runs out and takes out Angle, so this guy's on the show again. Brock then follows this up by running in and gives Big Show an F5 and runs after Heyman to the backstage area. This allows Angle to cover Show for the win and to become the new WWE champion for the 3rd time. This wasn't really bad, but it wasn't anything special either. I'm just glad that the title is on a guy like Angle. Rob Van Dam is shown at The World in Times Square and predicts that HBK will win the main event. And finally, the main event of this pay-per-view, we had a 3 stages of hell match. We had a street fight, steel cage, and ladder match. Triple H defeats Shawn Michaels to win the World Heavyweight Championship in 38 minutes and 33 seconds. The fallout from Survivor Series on Raw 496, Michaels defended the title against RVD in a decent match before Triple H caused a DQ, probably in the 3-star range. The following week, Triple H beat RVD in a bad #1 contenders match for the world title with Shawn Michaels as a special ref. Shawn eventually got the upper hand on the final Raw by diving off an 18-wheeler onto Triple H in a dumpster and saying that HBK has still got it. And I ended up giving this match 2.75 stars. This is a very controversial and you either love this match or hate this match. I was kind of just in the middle. It has good aspects of being a great match, but it was just way too long, and I'm overall not into the feud, really. Triple H was having a ton of issues with his injuries at this point and could barely move around for most of the match. There were some cool spots overall, like the flaming barbed wire bat they used, and the finish of the match was Shawn crashing through a bunch of tables off a ladder, but it still felt like they could have cut this down by 10 to 15 minutes and it would have been much tighter and improved. Triple H pinned Shawn about 20 minutes in the first fall with a pedigree. Shawn then pinned Triple H for the second fall in the steel cage with a dive off the steel cage through some tables. The final fall was Triple H knocking off a ladder as Shawn was climbing, and then he climbed it up himself for the 3rd fall at around 39 minutes to recapture the World Heavyweight Championship. It just lacked flow and the whole structure of the match just felt weird to me. In closing, the opener and Guerrero versus Benoit are really the only matches I would recommend to seek out if you want something good from this show. I would have to rank this as the weakest of the shows I've seen so far during the series, but I still enjoyed it a good amount. The best match of the night to me was Eddie Guerrero versus Chris Benoit. The worst match of the night was the women's triple threat and Batista versus Kane. I'll lump those together. The best moments of the night, I really enjoyed Booker T and Goldust recapturing the tag team titles. Eddie and Benoit trading suplexes back and forth to wake up the sleepy crowd was great. And finally, Ric Flair's selling antics on the outside during the Batista and Kane match was pretty entertaining. Some of the various worst moments of the night for me. #1, the Dawn Marie and Al Wilson storyline is just horrible stuff. It's so bad. The second was clicking my Roku TV and realizing I still had 20 more minutes left to go in the main event. That was pretty brutal. #3 was having to look at Big Show's tank top, jeans, and mustache combo. Just horrific. #4 was having to look at A-Train as well. just not a very very eye-pleasing show. And number 5 was Triple H regaining the World Heavyweight title, because this is when he's going to go on his absolute rampant run. And that leaves my final rating. I'm going to give this show a 4.5 out of 10. There was so much bad, and there's really only 2 things that I'll remember from this event. So this slots last on my rankings. Have No Mercy 2002 first, SummerSlam 2002 second, Survivor Series 2002 at third, fourth is Unforgiven 2002, and fifth is now Armageddon 2002. I'll see you all again next time, which will be the Royal Rumble 2003. First pay-per-view in 2003 for this series. Excited for it, but I will see you all then.